Hi, this is my presentation on culture and community of my city and my school, Salina and Central High School. For my school and community description, Salina is a city of about 50,000 people in north central Kansas. It has two public high schools, South and Central, both of which are 5A schools. We also have a couple of private schools. The median household income is about $50,000, which is about $12,000 below the national average. The city's population has been gradually declining over the past decade, and Salina Central's demographics regarding race and ethnicity are similar to the city and statewide averages. I used U.S. Census data for most of that information. School organization and climate. That has been something that has been a pretty big issue since I started about a year ago. We have a principal and two assistant principals. None of them have been at the school for more than 2 years, so there have been some growing pains. I think some of our more experienced teachers have been a little bit disappointed with some of the things they've seen, and they have actually brought a complaint that they asked the administration to address. Um, they presented a complaint at the end of last year alleging that our administration doesn't follow through on student discipline and isn't as visible or engaged as they should be. For example, you might have a student who gets a referral, but there isn't any follow up as far as punishment for them or really addressing what the issue was with the student. Those issues are being addressed, but our climate at the moment definitely is a work in progress. I had a teacher come to me just about 2 days ago who was part of this group that has concerns about our school climate and was asking me a lot of questions about how I felt about the current situation and about how things are being addressed. So it's nice that we have teachers who care enough about that to do something about it, and that they care enough to reach out to other teachers to see how they feel so that their voice can be heard. So I appreciated that. Student background information. About 61% of our students are white, about 21% are Hispanic, and about 4.5% are Black slash African American. All other ethnicities make up about 13% of our school population. I noticed that over the past 5 years, the number of white students has decreased slightly, while the number of Hispanic students has increased slightly, and the number of African American students has remained about the same. Home language. About 10.5% of Salina residents speak a first language other than English, and about 5.8% of Central students are enrolled in ELL. Socioeconomic status. According to the state data, 56.5% of our students are considered economically disadvantaged. One encouraging sign is that the number of economically disadvantaged students has been decreasing, and conversely, the number of non-disadvantaged students has been increasing. In 2017, more than 60% of students were economically disadvantaged, and the current 56.5% number is the lowest it has been, at least in the last 5 years. So that's one thing that is encouraging. I know that we have a lot of kids who are on free and reduced lunch. I know that the majority of our students are on free or reduced lunch at Central. Gender, about 53% are males and 47% females, which is the widest gap in at least the past 5 years. I'm not sure what they can attribute that to. I do know that as a journalism teacher, it's hard for me to get males to participate in the newspaper, the student newspaper. I've had a lot of really good male students that I've asked to participate and they didn't want to. And I currently have 16 kids on my staff and one male. So that's been something that I've been intentional about, trying to get more males involved in our newspaper, because I think diversity uh, of every kind, really, not just gender, but diversity really makes for a much better student newspaper. So that's something I've been working on quite a bit. Student academic information. ELA proficiency in 2019, about 31.1% of Central students were ELA level 1 compared to 34.1 statewide. About 38% were level 2 and 26% level 3, and statewide 37% were level 2 and 23% level 3. Honestly, I knew nothing about this going into this, and I discovered that level 1 is bad, that's the least proficient. So our school is doing fairly well comparatively speaking, so that is encouraging. But it was good to see the numbers and to learn the different levels and what they mean, what they represent. Math. In math, 50.2% of students were level 1 in 2019. That compares to 41.7% statewide. About 33% were level 2 and 10% level 3, and the state averages were 34 and 17% respectively. So again, not doing great in math apparently. Science. Science scores were much closer to state averages. About 42% of Central students were level 1 in 2016 compared to about 40% statewide. The level 2 and level 3 scores were almost identical with the state averages, which were 28 and 22% respectively. Social studies. I couldn't find history and government data posted for Central for some reason. I'm not sure why that was. Educational options. Students with disabilities. The number of students with disabilities at Central has grown steadily over the past 5 years. In 2016, about 12.6% of students had a disability, and that number grew to 16% in 2018 and has plateaued since then. The number in 2019 was 15.8. So we can see that that number has grown fairly significantly. My reflection as a first-year teacher last year, there were so many things that I didn't know about. Therefore, there were a lot of things that I didn't anticipate, which caused me to have to be flexible and adapt. For example, I had never really thought about the possibility of having special ed students in my classroom. And as it turned out, I had dozens. I think I had 30 to 40 special ed kids during the year last year. And I had to find a way to adapt and instruct them in a way that was effective for them while not taking any attention or effort away from the rest of my class. So exercises like this are helpful in helping me to consider all the aspects that go into being a teacher. There can be such a big difference between perception and reality, and looking at the numbers helps us to understand the reality that the students we serve are extremely diverse in many different ways. It helps us to be prepared to meet their needs and to be the most effective teacher we can be. So that is my report on culture and community for my city and my school. If you have any questions, please post those and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you very much.